to take confidence in the strength of our constitution to defend itself. Nobody can stand somewhere and tell us they will manufacture another president for 24 years. It will not happen. Honorable Kamket should be told. It will not happen. This is not 1980. This is not the generation that they used to sell fear to. The Kenyan of today is a Kenyan who understands the constitution, their rights. They know for a fact that you cannot impose yourself on Kenyans. I am telling you, the only way for any elected leader to win re-election is to do the things you promised to do for Kenyans, is to make the lives of Kenyans better. Now that they understand that it is going to be impossible for them to deliver on any of the promises that would make Kenyans look at them favorably, they are now openly threatening to violate the constitution and the rights of Kenyans and to try and force themselves upon the people. As a person who was in the campaigns in 2022, when we were being backed by a sitting president, these are not strange pronouncements. They are very familiar, because there are people in our camp who used to speak the way Kina Kamket are speaking and telling the country, oh, hii kitu imeenda, oh, there's nothing you can do, tutanyorosha wewe, hatuwezi kuachia mwizi. But I'm telling you, with the sort of anger that Kenyans have, the day a Kenyan is given a ballot paper like this, once he crosses against your name and puts it in the ballot box, that's the end of the day. That's the end of everything. So I want to assure Kenya.
Welcome back to our updates today. And the story that is going on within the Kenyan country is the story of abductions that have been happening around, mostly for the young people who have been against what the president is doing or what the leadership of the day is doing. And they'll be posting cartoons on social media platforms trying to condemn and trying to ill-speak the things that the president and those who are with him are saying. And that has been, has been over, and it's still going on. Some of the abductees were released, and people came up, or some Kenyans came up, or the supporters of the government came up saying, like, these guys, they self-abducted. And they've been staying away for some time, and they have decided to come out because this guy came out clean, and some of them, they don't have marks of torture and all that. And that made other people believe like, these guys were lying. No one abducted them, because what people believe is if you're abducted by the whatever arm of the government, as people say, you must go through torture, and the torture must be physical. Like you come with scars, or maybe scars of beatings, or when you're macheted because they've not been giving you food and all that. But what people forget again is these are political moves, and when they are doing it, they have to make sure that you don't blame them. So they do it in a way that you can't blame them. So whatever these young guys went through, it's them the only people who can explain what they went through. So putting that aside, with all these issues of abductions and all that, I know someone will ask me, Alan, why are you talking about this? And you should be telling us more about the scriptures and all that, because that is what you usually do. But one role of the church is to put the government into check, to put the government of the day into check, or the leadership of the day into check. So I don't think if I'm wrong, if I'm talking about these things, and I'm not trying to talk about it. So that has gone on, and there have been some other leaders who are so vocal, who are pro-government leaders who are vocal. That is SUDI, Ichungwa Murkomen, and Ichungwa and ATWOLI and some others who came in saying like, these young guys are abducting themselves, and there's nothing. And there are some who came on and said like it's like Ichungwa said, is the former deputy president, that is Rigathi Gachagua, who is facilitating all these abductions, and then later blame the government for doing the same. But what these people don't really understand is, I know they are in power and they feel like the power will work for them, or the government agencies and tools that the government have in disposal will work for them, and they're untouchable. Nothing will touch them. No one will touch them, or nothing can touch them, or nothing can do harm to them and all that. And that is a very good place to stand at, but it's only people who don't look into the future who talks recklessly because they think they're in power. First of all, power is temporal. Power is not permanent. Power is not permanent. Today you're in power, tomorrow you're not in power. And anything can happen to the leadership of the day, and you lose power and all that. And this power, they were given by the voters, or the people who voted for them into that position. And the very people who voted them can still unvote them back and, get them out. And several leaders have spoken about it, and and try to condemn the leadership, the abductions, and what the leadership of the day is doing. Even the courts have condemned it, and like nobody, there's no body of the government that is sane, that is trying to push and say that what is happening is okay. And here today we have SIFUNA trying to explain, and is giving Kenya, telling the Kenya that it's their mandate. No, the constitution does not stop any Kenyan to say anything evil against the leader if they feel that that leader is doing those evil things. So he's calling on to the Kenyans to stand ground and speak out, because they have the constitutional right to do the same. So let's get to hear what SIFUNA says, then we will move ahead on the next, what I feel about the same, because I have what I feel about this, and I feel I should speak it out. Thank you.
The leaders that you've mentioned, and of course I saw what the Honorable Kamket said, and also the Honorable Oscar SUDI. The truth is that we know now that they understand that this thing, it is irreversible now. The damage that this government has done to its own reputation is irreversible. They know that there is very little that can be done between now and 2027 to reverse the fortunes of this regime. So you can see that they have become irritated, agitated. The young Kenyans on social media have succeeded in getting under their skin. If you go to a function and speaker after speaker is only talking about social media and curtailing the freedoms of the young people, lecturing us about respecting other people, and yet these are some of the vilest politicians on the mic. They themselves cannot show you the respect that they want other people to show them. So for me, it is the clearest indication, and I want Kenyans to take confidence in the strength of our constitution to defend itself. Nobody can stand somewhere and tell us they will manufacture another president for 24 years. It will not happen. Honorable Kamket should be told. It will not happen. This is not 1980. This is not the generation that they used to sell fear to. The Kenyan of today is a Kenyan who understands the constitution, their rights. They know for a fact that you cannot impose yourself on Kenyans. I am telling you, the only way for any elected leader to win re-election is to do the things you promise to do for Kenyans, is to make the lives of Kenyans better. Now that they understand that it is going to be impossible for them to deliver on any of the promises that would make Kenyans look at them favorably, they are now openly threatening to violate the constitution and the rights of Kenyans and to try and force themselves upon the people. As a person who was in the campaigns in 2022, when we were being backed by a sitting president, these are not strange pronouncements. They are very familiar, because there are people in our camp who used to speak the way Kina Kamket are speaking and telling the country, oh, hii kitu imeenda, oh, there's nothing you can do, tutanyorosha wewe, hatuwezi kuachia mwizi. But I'm telling you, with the sort of anger that Kenyans have, the day a Kenyan is given a ballot paper like this, once he crosses against your name and puts it in the ballot box, that's the end of the day. That's the end of everything. So I want to assure Kenyans that this chest stamping should not scare anybody. Just come out and express yourself. Speak, because this constitutional freedoms that we enjoy, they were very hard fought. They were fought for by blood and sweat. You know, you can see that there's a lot of nostalgia from the old Kanu hawks to go back to those days where you could just abduct someone and throw them into a prison without trial. But at least that was the law then. It was legal. There was a law that backed that detention without trial. But that law does not exist anymore. The constitution now requires that if you arrest somebody, you have to produce them to court within 24 hours and charge them. And you have to demonstrate to the magistrate why you need to hold them in custody. The reason why they are abducting these young people is because there is no law that exists that says you cannot insult a leader. There is no law that says that you cannot insult the president. In fact, our High Court has already said that the freedom of expression extends to insults. The freedom of expression does not mean I have to be nice to you. It doesn't mean that I am forced to say things that you want to hear. Freedom of expression means I have to speak the way I see things. And instead of them addressing, why are Kenyans so angry? How did we get here? Because after the president was elected in 2022, by all accounts, William Ruto was one of the most popular politicians in the country. What did he do in the intervening period to lead to a place where he's being insulted left, right, and center? Instead of addressing those questions, the cause, they are addressing the symptoms. And I can tell you, for as long as your policies and the actions of your government continue to make life more difficult for Kenyans, for as long as you don't demonstrate respect for the people, for as long as your court jesters, the ones you are talking about, are speaking to Kenyans in the way that they are speaking to them, then nobody is going to respect you. Respect is earned. It's not something you force. You cannot force people to respect you. Respect is earned from how you conduct yourself, how you relate with people, how you demonstrate respect for the people as required under Chapter 6 of the Constitution. So unfortunately for him, he is surrounded by people who have decided that they have to tear him down. They are going to take him down. If there is anybody to be blamed for the one-term presidency of Ruto, it will be Kamket, it will be Oscar SUDI, and the likes who are surrounding him there, giving him bad advice, including my uncle ATWOLI. Speeches from some of the leaders that you've mentioned.
My personal opinion on this, and those who feel that they are in power and they can say whatever they want to say, do whatever they want to do, wherever they want to do it, and they don't really care and they're never afraid of whatever they're saying, is they should be very much careful with every word that they say and of everything that comes outside their mouth, because it's not going to be really good for them at any point. Okay, for now they're in power, the power will cover them and everything will be okay. But we have a tomorrow that we are not so sure about. No one is so sure about the tomorrow that we are all hoping to live for. We live today. We say we are not afraid of today, but tomorrow we are not so sure about it. So we should be afraid of tomorrow because the today is gone already. So if they're just saying words and speaking whatever they want to speak and causing a mayhem everywhere they go, and they are not looking into tomorrow, they might be, they might not have a better tomorrow, and they will not regret. Okay, they will regret of tomorrow and they will not have anyone to blame for that tomorrow. We've seen in other countries, we've seen leaders who've spoken like them, and they thought they're in power, but when the power went, it dawned unto them that they have no person to protect them, they have no power to protect them, and they ended up being handed over to the authorities or the law of the day taking care of them and prisoning them in one way or the other. So I don't feel if it's good for these guys to just come out and say with fear, without fear or favor, and they're trying to say whatever they are trying to say is just verbal words out there, because at one point, believe me or not, it will harm them. At one point, it will come back to them, and by that time, they will have no defense. They will have no person to defend them, no systems to defend them, no power to defend them, and there will be so much, at the mercies of either the public or at the mercies of the law by that time, and the law will have no mercy at them at that time. They'll be charged and they'll be found guilty of whatever they're doing. So my advice to these people is like not Kipchumba Murkomen. My advice to the likes of Oscar, SUDI and Ichungwa, they should tame whatever they say. And it's not only for them. Every leader who stands to speak somewhere, tame your words that you say, thinking about tomorrow, because you never know what happens next. No one's so sure about tomorrow, and tomorrow is unto the hands of God and all that. But again, there is one thing: when people are drunk in power, they don't really think about tomorrow. And that is the danger of being drunk in power, drunk with power. You think like you always be there and you do whatever you want to do. Remember, it's God who holds our life. We are not so sure about our life. It's only God who knows about our tomorrow. So we might think that we are in it and we're in it and we'll be in it for as long as we want. Then God decides to work on you. Because again, if you blaspheme God, you think that, there's no one who can touch you. It's only you have the power to rule and lead whatever thing you want and all that. God comes through for, especially the weak and the meek who are praying because of the oppression of the day or the oppression of the leadership of the day. And God comes through for them, and God protects them, and God fights for them. And this can be, one of the reasons to why things will never work. I know there are faith leaders who have come forth to say, give prophecies about this leadership and this country and where this country is headed. And if some of these guys are people who have eyes and ears to listen, eyes to see and ears to listen, I think they will humble themselves and even ask for forgiveness for the people that they feel they have wronged and all that, because we're not headed up in a better place as a country, and we cannot have that power to just try to say, to try to boast and try to, say things that are profane things against other people and all that. And as I've always said, sometimes we never know about tomorrow, and we can speak bad about the people who are suffering because we don't know that pain. And once we get ourselves into that pain, we will ask for people to come and rescue us from that pain. So don't wish anyone anything wrong at any point. And as a leader, if you're not ready to be ridiculed, if you're not ready to be ill-spoken, then don't become one. Because you cannot as much as you're doing good, you cannot be a darling to each and every person. As much as you're doing the best to serve every, you cannot be a darling to every. There are people who see mistakes in you, and they will call those mistakes out in whichever way they feel they should call those mistakes out. So you cannot say, wewe unaniongeleshanga hivi, wewe unaniongeleshanga hivi, I'm not going to help you. As a leader, you overlook all these things and you continue helping them. That is the role of a leader and all that, to bring people together. Even those who don't see good in you, you still need to bring them together with love and care. No, it's so fragile to be a leader, and so fragile the way you, whatever you do to the people are also like, it's also fragile. You need to do it with a lot of love and a lot of care. So with this country, I'm not so sure, but I'm saying if we continue this way, I'm not saying if we'll be having the 2027 elections at any point, but the change that is coming, like, there's nothing that can stop the change. There's nothing that will stop the change. There's nothing that will stop this change. It must change because it's that time. And this change is not just only in political realms, but even in the spiritual realms. It's going to change. And we cannot stop the change. The change must come in. That is my back on this. And I don't know what you as a person, as a Kenyan, you think, but I know most of the Kenyans are so mad. So mad of what is happening. And they really, really want the change. But when that change comes in, who will take over to lead this country? No one knows. And that's the surprise that God is going to do. That's the biggest surprise that God is going to do, because everyone doesn't know. Like, now there is a lot of mayhem or whatever and all that. People just not really so sure about tomorrow. And I think the surprise that God will do is bring in someone that people never thought that would be the leader of this country. And that person will lead this country to where God wants this country to be. And that will be into prosperity. Peace, prosperity, greatness, economic prosperity, spiritual prosperity, when it comes to obedience to God. And Kenya will be a very different country. And I believe it's time for us to do that. It's time for God to do that. And He's going to do it in a very better way that He Himself knows. One thing I'm so sure is people think that there will be bloodshed, that there will not be. God will do this in a very peaceful way, that no one has ever seen it before. It will be a very seamless change, a very seamless transition that no one has ever seen. And there will be peace in this country. That is my prayer. And I know God is working on that. Kindly, support us by leaving a subscription, subscribing to our channel, and supporting us, because we depend on you for us to move on. Thank you so much, and God bless you.